Today, I would like to start a new story. The name of the story is A Moment of Eternity. A Moment of Eternity is a most touching short story written by Bhabini Bhattacharya. Students, make it a point that here is a story that touches the core of our heart, the heart of our heart. It touches not only a normal human being, but even a most, should I say, a stony heart, but a stony heart, a stony hearted person also gets affected once if he or she reads this story. Mr. Bhabini Bhattacharya, a famous Indian short story writer and also a novelist, comes out in this story the pathetic condition of a helpless woman, a hapless woman, a woman who feels profoundly struck by a great tragedy in her life. It does not mean that tragedy once it happens in case of a king or prince or queen or princess is a tragedy. No, a tragedy can take place even in the health of or in the life of a normal common human being. So Mr. Bhavini Bhattacharya, a noted short story writer from India, a known Indian short story writer who happens to be a Bengali but born in Patna and lived in Bihar and got his degree from Patna University. Of course, he later on became a popular writer and went to England and went to America. Even he became a journalist. And not only that, So Many Hungers is the most popular fiction written by him. And in addition to that, he has come out with many short stories. However, what Mr. Bhavani Bhattacharya does in this story is he is writing this short story on a moment of eternity, very enigmatic, very, should I say, most difficult to measure the effect of that moment. What is this moment? Moment of judgment. Which judgment? A judgment delivered by a judge. Of course, a judge delivers a judgment only when an individual commits a mistake, makes a murder, or for a theft or a murder, or a robbery or dacoity, a judge pronounces verdict. But what happens here in this case, Mr. Bhattacharya is trying to, should I say, bring before us uh, the story of a poor couple. We don't have the names in this story, remember. There are no names. There is a husband and there is a wife. They have two children. Of course, children have got names. The names are, should I say, uh, Sona and Mona. Sona, of course, is a very Indian typical name. Sona is gold, according to us. With love and affection, we call our children with Chinna, Sona, Bangari, like that. So the mother has given one daughter, Sona, and another one as Mona. Mona, of course, sounds to be more like Western, British name. But the father is more interested to give a rhythmical name. Once he calls Sona, Mona rhymes with it. So in this story, there are two children who are named as Sona and Mona of this couple who we don't have the names, the father and mother. And remember, you students in India know that the Indian myth like Savitri, Satyavan Savitri, you have heard of. Satyavan, when he passed away, Savitri decided to bring back the life of her husband. So she made penance, she went to heaven, in fact, met Yama and asked him to return her husband. Once a person dies, his life cannot be brought back. But what happens in case of Savitri? It seems Savitri must have asked the god to bless him with children. Ashtaputri or Ashtaputra Sobhagyavati. This is how our elders bless. So it seems God blessed this lady, and this lady was intelligent enough to question the God again. If you can bless me with children, how do I get children unless I have a husband? And in Indian culture, a lady cannot marry second person. Of course, the advent of science and technology has made us to think over the institution called marriage, and people are now are breaking the oath that they have made when they took oaths in the marriage. But in an ideal given condition, Savitri, when asked God to bless her with some children, the God blessed her, but the condition is she cannot get children without husband. Therefore, the God also made rather helpless, and he had to return her husband. So Savitri could win her challenge. If Savitri could win or bring back her husband, a dead husband, therefore she is popularly known as Satyavan Savitri. Similarly, of course, this is a myth. It is not a reality. In India, many women are being influenced by the wonderful story of Satyavan Savitri. So here what happens, this lady perhaps fully knowing well that she too can emulate what Savitri did in her life. So she is a poor woman and her husband is also poor. Obviously, they do not have sufficient income to sustain their life. He, of course, goes for work and he keeps changing work. He becomes a conductor. He works in a coal mine as a clerk. So, in some odd work, though he is employed and he is removed, maybe because uh, the owners of these employment organizations were more interested to appoint their own kith and kin in place of this fellow. Therefore, he was removed. So he comes every time after losing the job and makes her wife know the fact that he cannot go back to his job because he has been dismissed or he has lost his job. Therefore, the wife also is careful, feels for her husband. And remember, here is a classic love between husband and wife. The wife loves her husband so much that she never thinks of getting alienated, getting separated from her husband. She rather profoundly loves her husband. For her husband is everything. She cannot think of living without her husband for a moment. And she cannot see her husband being constantly under stress. She is willing to die hundreds of times so that if it can compensate her husband's pain. She is willing to take her husband's pain and even ready to die in order to compensate for the pain of her husband. Look at the amount of sacrifice that this girl or this lady has. She is really a beautiful, ideal woman, a beautiful, ideal mother, a beautiful and ideal wife. She perfectly acts as a wife, as a mother, and even a daughter-in-law also. And every time, as I told you before, that the husband, whenever he was fired, he comes back, and the mother of that hero, or the father of these two girls, Sona Mona, says that you are a educated man, you can become the judge also one day. Who knows? Becoming a judge was the hope of this lady, but he had no confidence that he would become a judge in his life. Of course, he doesn't become, and the life of his wife is given in the hands of the judge at the later stage. Of course, the story is told in a flashback style. As a narrative technique, it has been adopted, and nobody knows that what happens till the end of the story, because the curiosity is sustained till the end. As somebody has already pointed out, that this story is almost like on the lines of Mr. O. Henry. O. Henry is a most popular writer of America who has written several stories with a wonderful twist at the end of the story. Mr. O. Henry suddenly twists, gives an end to the story that the readers never expected that this would be the end of the story. And he gives a convincing end to the story. That happens in case of, uh, what should I say, Mr. Hero Denizen of this story. The story is beautifully presented, beautifully narrated, and remember, the story is narrated in the first person. This is the narrative technique adopted by Mr. Bhavani Bhattacharya. The story is narrated in first person. Obviously, the lady, you can say the heroine of this story, narrates it. She keeps narrating the story, what happens to her, what happens to her husband, what happens to her children, what happens to her mother-in-law, what happens till the end of the story. It is she who narrates it. Remember, as I already told you, that Sona and Mona, two daughters of this couple, a couple that lives in abject poverty. They are hunted by poverty. But what happens when the head of the family loses his job, comes under tension, and gets a disease, a deadly disease like cancer, and the whole economy gets destroyed of the family. That exactly happens in this case also. Mr. Bhavani Bhattacharya is so minute, is so critical, so graphical in his description, so beautifully paints the story. You feel as if the whole scenario is appearing before you when you listen to the story narrating technique of Mr. Bhavani Bhattacharya. How he omits blood, how abject poverty troubles him, how the wife shows her profound concern for her husband, and how things move in his life, and how he is fired from his job, and how he is re-employed in another organization, and how he lost that also, and how day and night thinks of his wife and children. Once he realizes that he is likely to die, he is more worried that who will take care of my wife and children, who will get them brought up, who will bring them up. Who will educate them? Who will marry them? This is how a typical Indian father thinks of his role. And once he dies, he feels that there would be no one to take care of my wife and children. Therefore, he feels for them. And on the contrary, what happens? The wife also equally worried of her husband's deteriorating health day by day, moment by moment, second by second. His health is getting worsened. Therefore, she decides either she should live with her husband, where should she live? And finally, what happens? Her husband dies, so she decides I shouldn't live in this world. Why should I live? If my husband is not alive, what have I got to do? Why should I breathe? Why should I live? I must meet my husband wherever he is. So when her husband died, in spite of her best efforts to take him to hospital, and though there are no vacant beds available in the hospital because they are all full, India is a country full of population. Obviously, you see the condition of many COVID victims who are going to hospital. The beds are not vacant, ventilators are not available. Many people are dying because they are not in a position to get any ventilators. Not only in Karnataka, case of all the states, even in some other countries also, even in some Western countries also, many people, old age people in Italy, some 3 4 months back, went on dying because they were not able to get the required number of ventilators. And in case of a critical time, a doctor was made to take a decision whether he should, if two people are suffering, one is young and the other one is old, they prefer the young one because he has got longer life to live, whereas the old one has got very short life to live. Therefore, many people uh, died owing to this critical condition. Similarly, what happens? Her husband, the hero of our story, also lost his life because he was not able to get a bed in the hospital. And once her husband dies, this lady decides, I too should meet my husband. It means I too should die. So she decides to die. So committing suicide would make her daughters again destitute. So what she does, she decides, I must kill both my children, Sona and Mona. How to kill them? She decides to kill them by way of applying opium to her, because one was about 8 years and the other one was 3 to 4 years. So she thought of consuming that opium in more quantity and dying. And what she did, she administered this opium to these children by different means. She made a pill of opium and made the elder girl to gulp it so that she would die automatically. And the younger girl could not take pills. So what she decided, she applied the opium to her breast, the tip or the nipple part of the breast. Obviously, the child, being hungry, wants to suck the milk from the mother's breast. So it just touches her mother's chest to drink milk. But because of the sore or some kind of spurious taste the child gets the moment it licks or the moment it puts the tongue on that part, it withdraws. That's very touching, brother. The story is very touching. But it's hungry, it cannot stay back for any longer. So again the child goes. Again the child goes to the mother's breast and it sucks. But the moment the child sucks, it does not suck only the milk. Along with it, it consumes the opium that is pasted to the mother's breast. It consumes, it dies. and the second child also dies because it is given the pills made by this lady of opium, and she decides to commit suicide. But meanwhile, efforts are made to take the children to hospital, but they were not able to be saved, so they died. And obviously, what happens now? This lady who has been successful in killing her children, in murdering her children, so that both of them have gone to her husband. It means the father and the children are one now in heaven. And who is left out? Myself. So I means this lady. So this lady decides, I too must die. I too must die and meet my children and my husband. She decides. So she decides to kill herself. But meanwhile, what happens? The police come, charge her for murdering. She is put into the prison, and the judge is pronouncing the verdict. What did the judge do? She is waiting for that moment. He should give me a capital punishment. That's her desire. She is longing for a capital punishment. She is no longer interested to live in this world. She wants to meet her husband and children. And she is a double murderer. And what happens now? When the judge sits in his chair and ready to pronounce, she is expecting a capital punishment, hanging or life imprisonment. But remember, her expectation is falsified. The judgment is given, the judgment is delivered by the judge that she should be imprisoned for 4 years. She should be imprisoned for 4 years. And she is the most unhappy person when she heard the news that she has to live this damned life for many more years. What for? On account of what? Remember, even in jail also she tried to commit suicide. But remember, it's a heinous crime if you commit suicide. You can kill others and stay in the jail, but you are not supposed to kill yourself. Even with mercy also you can't kill. Recently there was a case, a lady who lived in Bombay hospital for more than 10-50 years, and who was rather tired of suffering with the profound pain that she underwent, wrote a letter to the government of India requesting the government to sanction her mercy killing. There was a huge news about it some 2-3 years ago when she died. Mercy killing is not allowed in India. So there are many nurses who nursed this lady for decades together. That's really wonderful. Human selfless service rendered by the co-nurses in the hospital speaks in volumes about the human concern for fellow human beings. So here also, this lady thought that if he cannot kill him, the judge, by hanging, at least she wanted to go to a river and get herself immersed into it and die there, as she was not able to swim any further, and she wanted to commit suicide by drowning into a river, or else she wanted to set herself ablaze. She wanted to, it's almost like a sati system that she wanted to practice. Remember, this lady who is treading on the path of our old myth. Remember, myth is a myth, reality is a reality. Now, in the 21st century, we're all living in the era of science and technology. And in this era of science and technology, everything is taken very judiciously, thought upon very judiciously, decision is taken very judiciously. Emotionally, you cannot act. This lady has acted emotionally without knowing that she is going to die and she is going to kill the children, and it does not make any sense to the departed husband of hers. The husband never realizes that his wife would be killed, or children would be killed and they would be meeting him in the heaven. That's not possible. But this blind lady, this innocent girl or woman, being wrongly inspired by the story of Satyavan Savitri, the author of the story, Mr. Bhavini Bhattacharya, is trying to bring how illogical, superstitious, misconceived thoughts can be devastating in the life of human beings. The story speaks here a callous attitude of this lady, which she considers to be a holy act if she does it, thinks of going to a heaven to meet her husband and her children so that they can live there very happily. But that is not possible. She never realized this kind of life. Therefore, this lady who even thought of getting madness, if she cannot die by fire, if she cannot die by river, at least she wanted to go mad. See, what does it speak? It speaks in volumes that this lady is totally tired of living in this world without her husband and children because she wanted to emulate. She wanted to emulate Satyavan Savitri. She wanted to copy what Satyavan Savitri did. She wanted to tread the path trodden by Satyavan Savitri. But in modern days, she never realized that this is going to harm herself and her living. So she failed to understand the reality. There is a huge gap between the reality and the myth. So the present day science and technology is trying to decode the truth of such myths. Therefore, even in a most implied way, the writer is trying to bring the foolish decision taken by this lady who murders her children, who loved her husband so profoundly. She did equally love her children, but she cannot withstand the kind of poverty that she was suffering from, the kind of tragedy she was put into, the kind of crisis that she was facing in her life. She wanted to put an end to all these activities, put a full point, put an end to all her suffering by committing suicide. But law never allowed her to do so. So, Mr. Bhavini Bhattacharya in this story has tried to narrate an excellent event of this couple and how it really touches the heart of each one of us. When you read the story line by line, it definitely touches your heart. It stirs our emotions. The feelings, the sensible people would really feel sorry for this lady and her husband and for her children. Because what a tragic waste of life you see here. Just because it's an act of, should I say, innocence? Should I say, ignorance? Should I say, misjudgment? Should I say, lack of understanding the reality on the part of this lady? The choice is yours. Which way you think of? But death is a death. Tragedy is a tragedy. Conviction is a conviction. She lived in jail for 4 years. That moment of eternity is coming to an end with this news. I think that's what I thought of for the day, and I have tried to give you the substance in a nutshell, the content of the story, and what I want you in the next class is in a hurried way. I will try to read the story and complete it. The next class we shall go to the story. Okay. that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you very much.